Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Mulder for part two. Yeah, we are using the free edition of Zoom, and I think it has like a 35 or 40-minute time limit. And I dropped off there when I was giving my little idea about time, I guess, in Delaware and what have you. But neither here nor there. Again, I like where this thing is going because here's the funny thing, Lady Karen. The next phase of the Q series, okay? And I've discussed this with Dr. Drachenblut, and he and we also discussed this with an electrical engineer, electronic engineer, and kind of devised a way of how to interact with uh, virtual or not virtual, artificial intelligence, and incorporating artificial intelligence with radionically with these um, with quantum computers, and in return, what the artificial intelligence is trying to do is make sense of what is taken off of the quantum computers radionically and give us useful information. Or if we give a directive for, say, the a stock market or a commodity market, for the prices to go one way or the other, to set aside, in the reality, for things to kind of shift from one direction to another, just by radionically working in conjunction with different technologies, and having them and using them. And I love this word because it's true. That's truly what it is. Using these technologies such as AI and quantum computers, using this as a resource, is a resource to be tapped into radionically. And there's nothing malicious about it. I mean, all you're doing is tapping into the infinity of the universe, and this is just a way of doing this. But and what this is going to do, we've already devised the simple technology where we can do kind of the basis for interacting with quantum computers and actually getting what we quote, I'm using air quotes here, tangible feedback, whether in the form of images, in the form of written words, text, whatever, via using AI as sort of our interpreter, our go-between, if that makes sense. And all because of this time camera. This is the same premise. They're all tied in together. It's the damnest thing I've ever seen.
And Dr. Mulder, isn't it kind of sad that these people, I mean, they were before their time in many ways. And I was reading through some more. I mean, the things that they came up with was finding the crystals. And I know that you have crystals in your devices and
Correct.
the Hertzian energy that the crystals put off. But there was one part at the end of this that I underlined it here. This is going to be a big interest here. So I suppose a lot of our viewers, or most of them, have heard of med beds, right?
Hmm.
So the part at the bottom says the holographic camera principles substantiates the principles in the med beds.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I mean, it's all linked. This stuff was back in the 50s. I mean, being invented back then, the start of it all. There was one part in here that talks about, I know some devices have like the tree of life in them, or they have the Kabbalah in them, or something, some form of sigil in that. It's all talking about the sigils. None of this stuff is new. This has been around forever, but it's
Hmm.
coming together. And how those great people like Tansy and Ruth Drown and maybe Dr. Albert Abrams, if they're looking down, or if you believe in reincarnation, maybe they've they've been born again and their children run around. It's going to be the next pioneers in it. Who could tell? But
Right.
this is the most exciting times ever in radionics, is what we're living in right now. Because who would have thought, when we're similar ages, when you and I were born, that we would be having a conversation here talking about the things that we're talking about. I mean, that just wasn't capable back then.
Yeah, I mean, it existed, but it wasn't easily available like it is now. I mean, I found out about radionics just from a, uh, a a show with Art Bell back in 1992 or 93, with a gentleman who was supposedly the electrical engineer at the Montauk Project. All right, that's how I learned. I got my first inkling of what is this thing, radionics. And so and I read a book that was published. Apparently, it was widely published. I don't know how many copies were sold, but it was part of legend, and it was called "Mind Machines You Can Build" by G. Harry Stein, and that's how that's was my introduction to radionics. And the only reason why I even found out about that was because of that show that Art Bell did with this kind of this wacky guy out of I think it was New York, Long Island, New York.
Uh-huh.
And so and that's led me to to listening listening to or watching Josh's seminar or webinar they did back I would say 15 years ago, and from that inspired me to find out about Uncle Chuckie or Charles
Yeah.
Casamano. Okay, yeah, I mean it's so funny, you couldn't make this up. And the chain of events that took place in order for me to get where I'm at today. And then, to and all these things come together. I build my first device, and yada yada yada. And I get results, and I start building another one and start, engineering the thing because I was a bit of an inventor on top of that. And everything that I had learned from other disciplines, whether it was optical engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical, electronic engineering, all these little things that I associated myself with, in the past, all came into play when it came to radionics. It was like I was being trained, and there was what I thought were many failures, but in hindsight, they were my greatest successes because of what they taught me. And all these things led to where I'm at today, and now I am probably the most prolific builder of radionics devices that's ever lived. There's nobody out there that could, yeah, yeah, they built great machines, but I mean, they're they're astronomical in the cost. I mean,
Excuse me.
you have quite a few what we consider some high level machines, great quality machines, great reputation of the manufacturer. And am I exaggerating when I say these things can be like three, five, even $10,000, if not higher? Am I exaggerating?
Oh my gosh, no. I mean, there's one of my sweet friends, he's got a new machine that's out right now. It's $8,000. And there's some in Europe that I think you can get into 20 and $30,000. But there's a lot here on the mainland, US that they start off at 25,000, 20, excuse me, 2,500
Hmm.
and go up to 3,000. And of course, with some of them, it's like, okay, but you have to buy this to go with it. So
Well, you
by
have
the
to be
time you,
specially trained. You have to
and then
take
you
a
have to go
course.
and be trained, you have to go and be trained. And so what this, like you said, the synchronicities of things, if you think about it, my grandmother back in the 80s had trained with Tansy, and she showed me this box she had and like, well, give me some of your hair and your blood, and like, oh my God, what are we doing here?
Right.
And it's radionics. I didn't know. I mean, she said it was radionics. I had no idea. At that stage, I was in nursing school. I was going off leading my life doing other stuff, and she had this mysterious box. And oh my gosh, I think about it. I'm thinking it was one of the Tansy boxes. And I would give so much to have that box right now. Who knows where that box went? And then the years go by, and then I did some training, I did some other research, and then I met you, and that was through Josh. I mean, I'd
Hmm.
actually ordered a box from Josh's website, right?
Right. Right.
And I think it was one of the lowest and cheapest boxes. And I'm not saying low end, but price wise,
Yeah. Yeah.
boxes. And I put this order, and I get this email from you, like, well, what would you let it set to? And then from there, it was like we were supposed to talk. And, let's just think about it. 2 weeks ago, you were sat with Dr. Whom and I and eating one of his very nicely cooked steaks, right?
That is correct. Yes. Yes.
In our sunroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The chef. Yes.
The
And
chef, La Chef. Yeah.
yeah. And exactly. And again, it's just like it's the synchronicities and that kind of a thing. But you see, that you never know what's going to happen. And I've met people that I never would have met because of radionics. I've done things I never would have done because of radionics. And so it's led me down a lot of adventures. I've seen a lot of things that were highly unusual.
I'm going to start laughing now just to say to folks listening, Some of the stories I've heard from Dr. Mulder could not be repeated on a family show.
No, no, no.
But
There's a lot of craziness in the
there
world.
was some craziness. And to think that, I'm born in this little town, Taunton, Somerset in England, many, many years ago. And then I end up in the Carolinas here, back and forth. And I've traveled, I've lived in Louisiana, I've lived in Texas, and we're all but neighbors for a couple of hours, right?
Hmm.
And it just, and then I've got connections of people that I've met on courses that I've taken and all over America and all over the world. And it's all radionics. It's all the synchronicities of the radionics that bring us together. I mean, my dear friend, radionics woman,
Hmm.
she's from East Africa,
Hmm.
and she lives in the great state of Georgia. And it's just like it's all meant to be. Somehow or the other, we are all put together. And then some crazies come along here or there, and they just don't stay very long, do they? They kind of pop in and then they leave.
I look at them as entertainment.
It's entertainment, exactly. Because when you deal with anything with energy medicine or anything else that you deal with, there's some people there that are very different. We each have our own journey to live. We're going to all be very
Yes,
different. But we
yes,
were actually talking earlier again, going back to this, when I talked about the ants and I didn't want to kill them because I was scared that I might poison myself.
hmm,
And you look around and you see some of these great people that have dealt with the health or they've used radionics for things that are not so nice,
yes,
and that energy is going to come back. And I realize, I sit here now and I think, I take this deep breath before I do something, and I do it with love and with light, and no harm to come to anybody. And I keep reiterating that to the point of people like, oh, she's going on about that shit again, right?
yeah,
But I don't want that stuff to come back on me. So, if I'm mad and I'm pissed off with somebody, could I get on a radionics box and make their day crap? Yeah, but it's also going to make my day crap and maybe crappier. And why would
exactly,
I want to do that? Because karma is a bitch and it's going to come back and get them one way or the other. So maybe
exactly,
look around and doing something different. Like, hey, that person's got some trouble right now. Maybe I should send them some light and some love, or send them a bit of luck or something. And I send them some luck, and guess what? That comes back tenfold on me.
hmm, hmm. Yeah. Well, my thing is it depends. Everything's a case by case basis, just like everything
Yeah.
else in life, right? And sure, I could go for the revenge thing, yada yada. I'm gonna curse on you and curse on every generation before,
Yeah.
before and after you. Yeah, I could go through all that shit. Yeah, I could do all that. I guess so. But you know what? Why don't you just do something real simple? Wish for justice. Wish for
Yeah.
the victim to be compensated for what that was taken away from them, and for the perpetrator to meet his, whether it's imprisonment, whatever it may be. Let, as you would say, let karma take care of things, and just put hit on turbo charge. And again, my go-to guy is Michael. What
Yeah.
I do is, and it's just my faith or my belief system. If I have an issue with some clown that's causing a lot of difficulty, I say, Michael, we have an issue here. Would you kindly look into this and take care of things the way you see fit? Thank you. And that's pretty much it. You put it in his hands. You let him sort this bullshit out. That's his job. Okay.
Exactly. And I don't want to get into like the politics or the new stuff, but
Yeah.
and I don't want to mention any names, but we all know right now, like famous movie people and certain people are leaving the country or they're hiding. And
Uh-huh.
we all know, we've all read what's going on, which is horrific. And the pedophiles that are, coming out, or we're hearing about these things.
Hmm.
And what do they sell themselves for? And
A
some of
few.
them are getting the comeuppance right now.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with Santero David, and you need to meet this gentleman. He is a very wise man, and we were talking about magic, and and again with his belief system with Santeria, yeah, there's a dark side and there's a light side. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got it's like any other thing, and he works in the light. He doesn't work in the dark, and and he and I both had the same conclusion that yeah, you may get something temporarily, but you know what? The the dark energy or entity that you got this from, they're going to take it back plus interest. And
Hmm.
I'm just telling you, it's just the way it is. Deal with the light. Let the light take care of things. Let the quote unquote the creator or the right hand men of the creator, if that's your belief system, let them take care of it. Stay in the light. You're better off. You're so far better off, and the gain is just as much, if not more. And you don't have to, you don't have that baggage that energetic and spiritual baggage on you, and it's just cleaner. It's just a lot cleaner, and you'll feel a lot better about it. But again, I'm not going to judge. Some people, this is what they do, and so be it. I'm not going to judge.
Yeah.
But for me, it doesn't resonate. It's just my personal belief system. I'm into the light part of this thing. But yeah, do I like to be a little wicked? If you got some pain in the ass neighbor, and they're just being total, they're being just just obnoxious and just trying to go out of their way to make your life miserable, yeah, send the fire ants their way. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. But it's like today, like I told you, it started off this morning with me getting given the 4 cups of coffee.
Right.
And I felt so good. And I went over and I kind of like put my hand like I hug strangers. Well, I do hug strangers. I'm a hugger, you know that. But
Hmm.
I went over and I put my hand like, oh, thank you, you made my day. That is so sweet. And there was a big smile on her face.
Hmm.
She'd made mine and my friend's day great just by giving a simple thing of coffee. Didn't really cost them anything, right? They had loads
Right.
of coffee there.
Hmm.
But it's just doing those little things and then feeling good about that and then coming home and then reaching out to you. And then you brought up this whole thing that we were talking about the camera. And then all of a sudden, I was driven to go to this article where I found it, I don't know, piddling around on the computer. And I pulled off all that information that you've now put into the PDF about the camera. So, only the hiccup I had was like, okay, so why was I not being able to get online to talk about some of the stuff with this that I wanted to talk about? But you know what? It's not all to synchronicity. Some things like shit just happens, right? It's
Yeah.
just like poor internet connection. It's nothing to do with woo woo or anything. I just need to get my internet,
I mean,
my computer moved to where the connectivity is better. And there's no, so you can look into things like, there are some people I've seen over the years. It's just like, oh, they can't do anything unless they go to the priest or they got their rosary beads out or they pray or they do something like that. And I'm not knocking religion. Don't hear me saying that. But, or they've got to go to the tarot card reading, like, oh, I might want to get this job, but I've got to go to the tarot card reading and see if I should take the job. And that can be so much of your life. It can take your life away. And it's just like, get on and live your lives. And some things are supposed to happen. Sometimes, spirit or whatever will, you'll just know something
mm,
or you're in the right place at the right time. And I've always said, uh, if ever I told the story about when I was having my cataracts done last year, about we were 10 minutes late leaving the house. And it was just weird. Like, and then I get in the car and I know too much information. It's like, God, I got to go pee. It's like 30 minutes to the hospital. So I run back to the bathroom. We get in the car and my husband's like, are we going? You've got an appointment. And I told that story to you once before. We got onto the interstate, onto I-20,
mhm.
and we weren't on it for many minutes and the traffic backed up. And there was a very bad wreck with a few people killed. If we had left at the time that we were supposed to have left, we probably would have been in that wreck. So
Exactly.
something was saying you forgot your purse. Something was saying, oh, you forgot this. Something said, oh, your bladder needs to be emptied. These
Yeah.
things, I made 3 trips back and forth to the car, and that's not normal.
Hmm.
And in the end, I sat in the car and I was a bit panicky, thinking, oh, we're going to run late. We mustn't miss my surgery time. And it was almost like something told me, like, no, take a breath. This is meant to be happening. And when we hit the traffic, it was so funny when we got to the hospital because the surgeon was waiting there. He was kind of sat there with his legs crossed because everybody that was having surgery that morning was coming from the same town area that I live in. And we were all stuck in that traffic.
Mm.
So then we were all piling in at the same time. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you listen to what what is being told to you in strangest ways possible, right? And the other thing that we talked about earlier as well was the connection with your boxes. And in that article I was reading, there was a part of it where he had become one with the camera. And there was another part that I read into that at one point because he felt like he couldn't breathe. And
Mm.
he was connecting himself up with the device, whereby when we use the radionics uh, boxes, machines, devices, whatever you want to call them. It's like the new one that you brought to me a couple of weeks ago. I've connected to it. So I sit there, as strange as can be, and I talk to it.
Hmm.
And then I'll put my hand on the rub plate and I'll just kind of feel its energy and, do a few things, set a few simple operations like the coffee operation that worked great this morning. It didn't take me 10 seconds to set that one up before I left.
Right.
And it becomes a part of you. So one of the things that I know that you don't do and I don't do either is I do not let anybody else touch my radionics devices. I don't let anybody in my lab, and my husband even knocks the door and asks permission to come in.
Mhm.
If anybody's in the house and I want to show them my lab, it's like, come in here but don't touch anything.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm very respectful to them, like I expect them to be respectful to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in that lab myself, and I don't touch anything in there because I'm thinking, oh shit, what the hell? I don't know what I'm working with here, so I just leave it alone. Plus, yeah, I don't want to be, get the wrath of Lady Karen.
Yeah, I mean, we did the video in my lab on my desk,
Right,
and all my
exactly.
devices and all my woo woo and all the other stuff is all around you. You don't want the
Yeah,
wrath of Lady Karen, right?
yes,
But yeah,
yeah, but no, it's but yeah, I agree with you on that. And this stuff, it's just very deep, and we're ultimately where I see this going, and this is beyond anything that anybody's doing, because it kind of goes back to that hologram uh analogy that I was giving, that the smallest piece has all the information of the whole. In other words,
yeah,
it's all one. Even if it's separated, it's still all one. It's all interconnected. And that's the way the universe is. That's the way our reality is. It's all interconnected. And because there was a reason why I went absolutely nutso over the Mandela effect, because it bothered the living hell of me, because I knew these changes had happened, and I don't care if anybody thought I was crazy. I didn't really, it didn't bother me at all. So I had plenty of very intelligent people, reinforce and back up what I was remembering, and so I knew it was not just me, and became, and plus it's a phenomenon, and yeah, and we're listed as a bunch of whack jobs. I don't really care. I know the truth. And but
mhm,
what that led me to was that said that physical reality can change. It doesn't make any difference. Nothing is set in stone. Everything is fluid. And because of that reality, because of knowing that fact, that's the reason why it just reinforced the fact, to me, it reinforced that these machines are real, that I am able to project my intent and my consciousness into reality and change things. Cliff High, you probably heard me reference him before. He was talking about there's a difference between a magician and a sorcerer. A magician, yeah, they'll use their potions, they'll wave their magic wand, they'll go through all these rituals, yada yada yada. But a sorcerer, all he has to do is think about it, it becomes part of reality. He doesn't have to go through all that bullshit. He understands the true what energy is. And everybody that works in radionics, you're not a magician, you're a sorcerer. You're tapping into
yeah,
the actual reality of things. You're far beyond any magician because you're using the true magic, which is you. And
yes.
and all radionics is a simple tool to project that magic into the universe and to make things happen that normally would not happen. And I think it's a good way of summing up for all the newbies out there how this stuff works.
Yeah, because the part of the article as well that I read in it was explaining that basically maybe the machines don't do anything. Well, the machines won't do anything without the person working the machine, the sorcerer, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, if I just leave the machine there, it's not going to do anything. It's going to sit there.
Yeah.
I'm part of that machine. It's part of me. So when I go in there, um, you know, to make it simple, especially for the new people into this, so the operation I did this morning was I wanted somebody to gift me something today, to gift me something, okay? And I didn't kind of finish all the story because I was gifted a couple of other things, and I forgot to mention that. I went in there and I set my dolls, and off I went. And like I tell you, so I get there, I meet my friend, and she said, "You've been so sweet and so kind to me. I've got a gift for you. It's like an early Christmas present." And she bought me this beautiful book that cost a lot of money, a beautiful, beautiful book. And I'm like, oh, I've got my gift today. And
Hmm.
I thought, well, that worked. Okay. Then I went to pay for the coffee and I got that gifted as well.
Hmm.
And, but if I'd wanted to really be gifted, or maybe even the coffee, and I'm trying to make the analogy for people to understand, I would have had to have thought about it the whole way there. Like, I'm going to get a gift today. I'm going to get a gift today. 10 minutes later, I'm going to get a gift. I'm going to get a gift. I didn't have to do that. I went into the radionics machine and I said, I'm going to get a gift today. And then
Hmm.
I set the dials and I went off on my way and I didn't think about it again.
Yeah.
It did it for me. So it was continuing to do it. And actually, I think it's still running out right now. I don't think I turned
Yeah.
it off. So I might get another gift before midnight, right?
You never can tell.
You
You
never
never
can
can
tell. Yeah.
tell. And but it's just that's the beautiful thing about these machines. And again, I do this kind of stuff all the time. It nothing surprises me anymore, to be honest with you. Yeah, have I had to deal with a little bit of drama from here, every once in a while, with the interaction of people in these machines? Of course, it's just part of it. It's just part of it. It goes with the
Yeah.
territory. But all in all, it's been an adventure for me. I've enjoyed myself, and I wouldn't change a thing. But anyway, it's hopefully, we gave people something to think about. Definitely look in the description. We're going to have all the these references here, hopefully, and check it out for yourself. But again, before we conclude here, I just want to say once again, great job, Josh, putting that stuff together here with the time camera. I like what you did. I
Yeah.
like
Well
taking.
done, Josh.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just a fantastic job on that. And so, but with that said, Lady Karen, oh, by the way, am I know I was kind of shocked to hear this, but I think that we may be issuing our first edition of the newsletter. Is that correct? Is that coming down the
Oh,
pike?
yeah, that should be coming out maybe as soon as tomorrow.
You're kidding me.
Oh, yes. I mean, yeah, maybe as soon as tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
And
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so on the newsletter, I think on this first one, we're just going to really uh post the special that you're going to be running as we're coming up to the holidays.
Correct.
And
Yes.
especially with the Quantum 2 Generation 3, you're going to be running a special on that box. I think you've already got it on the YouTube channel anyway. And
Right.
there again, I'm going to annoy everybody by saying, don't forget, like our Facebook page, it's the real Dr. Moder, not the
Yeah.
fake one, the real one, right?
Yes, the real one. Yes.
The
And
real one.
yeah, and I think, and for what you're telling me, that's starting to, people are starting to get some traffic there and starting to be noticed. And I knew it's going to take a little time on this thing, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is give people, easy how-to information on how to use these machines to kind of take all the nerdy stuff out of the scenario and give you actual, down to earth, instructions on how to use these machines, give you a simple, affordable machine that actually works just as well, if not better. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but will
Hmm.
work as well, if not better, than some of the people out there that sell these machines for many thousands of dollars. And that is our business model here, is to provide you with something that's simple to operate and is affordable.
Yeah, what I think I'll do tomorrow is, because I nixed the whole idea of killing the ants, I'll probably set my camera up and I will do some research as to what ants don't like. So maybe I'll send them lavender oil or whatever I can find that they don't like, and I'll ask them to kindly leave the area, right?
Yeah, and if you're going to do that, then you could
And I'll,
find
I'll,
out.
I'll video, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
video doing it so that so anybody watching can see how I set that operation up.
Oh, fantastic. And what I would do is take another machine, if you have one to spare, and find out what these ants like and project that toward that neighbor's property.
You know what? I never thought of that.
Well, that's the
That's a
reason
good
why
one. Yeah.
I'm Dr. Mulder.
Yes,
And
exactly. Or send them to the woods in the back or something like that. Yeah,
uh, uh,
we can do whatever.
yeah.
And it felt, folks, if you can comment, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on the YouTube, and let us know what you would like us to do videos on, because we can't know unless you let us know what you want. Like, do you want me to do a video on how to sell a house, or would you like us to do a video on I don't know. We're not going to do win the lottery, so don't go with that one because
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Everybody
But
asks for that. It's just we
yeah,
need to do a show. We did a great show with Josh on gambling. I gotta because that he's in Las Vegas and that's his thing. And I think next time I have him or on the air, do an interview with him, or if I get on with him, we need to discuss that some Joshua P. Warren pointers because that he's exceptionally lucky at the tables in Las Vegas. He doesn't lose money.
hmm,
So yeah, yeah. So he knows something. Gambling is not my thing. It never appealed to me personally. I've been in Las Vegas twice, and I didn't even gamble a single dime. I looked at these machines and said, yeah, whatever. And I just didn't find the I was the allure. I just didn't find it just didn't do anything for me. Let's just put it that way. So, but anyway, yeah, we need to get him on there and talk about that when it comes to gambling. And you're right, this lottery thing, everybody wants to win the Powerball. The problem is with the Powerball, you have everybody else out there whose intent is just as strong, if not stronger than yours.
yeah,
They're doing everything they can, like their lucky rabbit's foot. They're going to their local priest for a prayer. I mean, setting up Lucky Charms and maybe going to a voodoo priestess or a priestess or a priest or whatever, doing whatever they can to give them that edge to win that Powerball. Well, this is what you're dealing with. You got millions of people going after the same goal, but kind of keep it localized. And Joshua's, in a nutshell, was to deal with a machine. You can project your intent into a machine. You're dealing with a machine. You're not really dealing with other people. You're just dealing with the house. It's pre-programmed.
yeah,
And that way you kind of keep as many people's intent out of this as possible. That's probably the bottom line for a lot of his advice. But yeah, there's just so many different things. And please, yeah, give us some ideas here on what you're interested in. And I've already made another. I think we did that show about Uncle Chuckie and
yeah,
his well-being, and I think
yeah.
that was gave everybody enough information to realize that we don't touch health issues. So
Yeah, and I did send you, Dr. Moder, actually, I did send you a PDF of all of Uncle Chucky's free stuff that used to be online that I think might have disappeared now. I
yeah,
don't know if you've got that. Maybe
yeah,
we could add that onto a link and there all of his books are out there as well.
yeah. Well, what we could do is have our wonderful webmaster have her put that as a inside the
The
website.
newsletter.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
newsletter or
So to
radionicpower.com. One or the
yeah, so
other.
to get
They
onto the newsletter, go to the website and then there's a little button to click to subscribe to the newsletter. And that's radionicpower.com, right?
hmm
Um, and do that. One thing I want to mention before we get off, I did do a short video and I was talking about the five types of abundance, 3D, 4D, and 5D, and I said we
hmm
would follow up on that.
hmm
And talking about things like what can radiance do for you, and we've talked about the different types of abundance because really what we're looking for, all of us are looking in our lives, is to have abundance. And abundance comes in many, many ways. It's not just money. I mean, it's not all obsession with money. Abundance in health, abundance in love, abundance in having great animals around you or great people around you,
hmm
and synchronicities and things like that. So I think maybe the next show, if people are interested, maybe we can delve a little bit deeper, go down into that big rabbit hole
Oh,
of
sure,
the
that'd be great.
various abundance eyes or
Yeah,
vitamin
that'll
C's.
be great.
Yeah.
That'll be great. Well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on the air and discussing this time camera and doing some research. That was really fantastic things that you've uncovered here. And I think we're about ready to run out of time according
Okay, well then
to
we will say goodbye.
goodbye and have a good night.
Goodbye. Jolly
Bye.
good evening to everyone.
Yes, and
Bye.
I'll upload the part one tonight. All right, bye.
Bye.